Basic DNSDB pivots via the Farsight web portal. Passive DNS is a very powerful tool that we can use to investigate spam, phishing, and other online attacks. Passive DNS can take an initial clue you've found, such as a suspicious IP address, domain name, or name server, and amplify that initial clue to find other related online assets. DNSDB is the name of Farsight Security's passive DNS solution. DNSDB can be accessed several different ways. The simplest way is via our interactive web portal, my.farsightsecurity.com. Today we're going to show you how to investigate an unwanted email message using the Farsight web portal. Note that DNSDB is a subscription product, so you'll need to go ahead and contact Farsight Security to go ahead and obtain access to it. All DNSDB investigations start with some clue that you already have. In this case, we're going to start with some information we've gleaned from an unwanted piece of email. But in other cases, you may have information from a firewall log file, a malware write-up, or a phishing investigation. Details about our unsolicited email message include the subject. In this case, it was woodworking ideas, cheap and easy to build. The host that handed the spam message off to our mail server, a spamvertised domain gleaned from the message itself, and an opt-out address that was mentioned in the body of the message. We're going to start with that opt-out P.O. box address since it's the thing that people often notice or go to first. Let's begin by checking to see what we see in Google. If we Google for that P.O. box address, we see that it actually is an Earth class mail virtual address. It's also pretty hard to miss something that is pretty obvious when you begin looking at Google. We're not the only ones receiving unsolicited email associated with that opt-out address. There are numerous spam pools online, including mailings that were sent to anti-spam mailing lists. If we attempt to figure out who's got that opt-out address, we can actually check to see some of the hits in Google, and we very quickly see one of them is reinforcedmedia.com. They claim that exact P.O. box address. And then we basically are finding ourselves asking, well, where is reinforcedmedia.com hosted? Let's check DNSDB. This is what the opening page for the DNSDB web interface looks like. It has an Easy tab and an Advanced tab. We'll go right to the Advanced tab today. You'll notice that we've typed in reinforcedmedia.com in the search field. If we then hit the search bar at the bottom of the screen, we'll then be able to see some results from DNSDB. In this case, we found 10 answers for that query, including one answer that actually points at 66.29.74.101. We can go ahead and then pivot through that IP address to see what else has been seen on that IP address. In this case, we find 6,758 unique answers that have been seen on that IP address. That's a lot of results. Because it's such a large number of results, we're going to go ahead and actually just save those results to a text file by clicking on the text button in the DNSDB web portal output panel, and then simplify those names to just the second level domains. We can then sort and uniquify them to reduce the number of domains we have to work with. We're not going to bore you with the details of that here, but having done so, we're able to take our one IP address down to 2,711 unique second-level domains. We can see what some of those look like. You'll notice that many of these are related to things like advertising or appear to be composed of two words that have been randomly combined together. If we check who is for that domain, actualwithout.com, we can see that it was registered by Imperative Marketing, and it has some interesting characteristics, such as the same post box code, the 85919, as we saw in the earlier domain. We also go ahead and get a registered email address that we can go ahead and chase via reverse whois. We may be able to find some other domains that use that same address. To go ahead and do the reverse whois query, we like the reverse whois tool that's available from Domain Tools, one of Farsight Security's partners. In this case, searching for helendavis890@gmail.com, we find 182 total domains. We can go ahead and check many of the domains that we found using that reverse whois tool. In addition to the helendavis890 domain that we already had found with 182 hits, add1report.com is associated with admin@brickrunmedia.com and an additional 111 domains, and we can go down the line. A third address is associated with 214 domains, a fourth address with another 115, and so forth and so on. One of the domains, beckyfrommer.com, we found associated with drawerfrommer. That address or that name shows up again when we look to see who owns the IP address of this page. We can see that in whois. So if we look at whois for 66.29.74.101, we can see that that address is part of a block that belongs to Perry Systems Inc. of Livingston, New Jersey, and the coordinator for that block is drawerfrommer, obviously closely related to the name Becky Frommer. We can also chase the handoff IP address. And in our case, we can go ahead and check to see what else is in 178.211.35.0/24. You may wonder why check that particular block. Well, that's the most specific encompassing IPnet block that we can find in IP whois. This is what the IP whois looks like for the address that we had received this message from. It's the Istanbul Data Center Limited, a Turkish outfit. And you can see that it was basically created in 2013 and last modified in 2016. So it's been around a while and is relatively stable. If we check that IP address block in DNSDB web portal, you'll see that we've gone ahead and entered it as our data. That's the right-hand side of the DNSDB records. And we've specified that it's an IP or network range. We can then search. When we search, we find that we have actually gotten 10,000 results, and actually probably more than that. 10,000 is just the most we can get via the web UI. And some of those really don't look like the sort of thing that we're going to go ahead and be able to do much with. They may be older results from 2010, as in this case. So we really are going to want to go ahead and figure out some other way of getting at those results. One thing we can do is ask just for A records and only from a tighter range of IP addresses. So we'll go ahead and drop back and just ask to see results from the .200 to .224 range. Doing so, we're down to only 151 results, and many of these are .date domains that are very similar to the one that was actually seen in the handoff. We can save those results to a plain text file. When we do so, sometimes the names come out looking a little bit cumbersome because they contain the details of our query, but obviously you can rename that file however you like. The results have a format that looks something like this. So you'll see the time that a result was first seen, the time that it was last seen, the number of times it was seen, and then the actual result itself. Each result will be separated from the next result by a blank line. We can go ahead and take just the interesting bits from that output by using the Unix search or grep command to go ahead and search just for things that include .date. You can see that it includes a number of different domains on .200, .201, .204, .206, and so forth. And this actually goes on for quite a range. Here are some more of those. In this case, there are a large number of domains that are all on .221. What else can we find? Well, sometimes a name may have been used or may have used more than one address. So in this case, let's go ahead and check albgaz.date, one of the domains we found. If indeed we search DNSDB for it, one of the results that we receive is albgaz.date pointing at two IP addresses, the 178.211.235.215 address, but also a new address, 192.64.119.74. We can then go ahead and look at it as well. You'll notice that this is another case where we go ahead and get 10,000 results, the maximum results that we can get from the portal. So we keep on kind of bumping into that limit here. So since we seem to be kind of outgrowing the DNSDB web portal, what next? Well, DNSDB also is available as DNSDB API. And the good part about that is it will return up to 1 million results. And we can also just ask for results from a particular time period. So that means that we can limit our data to just a particular relevant time period, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe a quarter or so back from where we are now. But you know, talking about DNSDB API is really out of scope for today's video. We hope that this has at least given you a little taste for the sort of things that you can do with DNSDB in the web portal. And we hope you found it intriguing, and we invite you to contact Farsight Sales for more information, or to go ahead and try DNSDB with your own data. Please visit our website at www.farsightsecurity.com. Thank you.